mean to draw the consciousness up into the heart? I can see the I consciousness is connected with the ego, that self-maintenance and all the rest. When you go inside, you can see it's all about the I. And Mr. Van Reichenberg says you can't reach liberation from that, the sanctuary of life. You have to raise it up into the heart. What does that mean, and how do you actually raise your consciousness up into your heart? That's the question.
Thank you so much. Okay, you've taken us a further step, or we've jumped a few elements, and that's all well and good. I think there's no problem in that. And quite rightly, you say that in Gnostic processes, or the Gnostic method, if I dare say so, it is exactly what you spelt out, that lifting of the consciousness, and we've described the three states of consciousness, the consciousness of the pelvic sanctuary, which is the accumulated energies of past incarnations. It is the seat of our karma. I think we don't have to go off on a sidetrack and explain that. I think we understand what we say about karma. So all the positive and negative elements of all the previous incarnations, because we are what we are, not only because of our blood inheritance, but also because of the inheritance of all the past personalities. So it is our destiny, and it is our legacy. And we have to fulfill that legacy, because each one of us in this room today has had, in previous incarnations, has had contact with the radiation force of the Gnosis, has had contact with the radiation of the Christ force. And we have again fallen into forgetfulness, into that sweet sleep of forgetting about everything. But now there are things happening in us, and the rose of the heart, through the experiences of the past personalities, is vibrating, is sending out messages. And one of the messages is know yourself. And to know yourself, you have to go into your pelvic sanctuary, and you have to allow the energy and force of the heart to first descend, firstly go from the heart into the head, and then from the head down into the pelvic sanctuary. So before we can lift anything up, we have to allow that energy of light to, through our aspiration, our understanding on the head level, our aspiration on the heart level, to move into the head sanctuary, to have that element of enlightenment, to open ourselves. So you open yourself, and it's like a triangle of forces that comes into the head sanctuary. And then that energy can go down into the pelvic sanctuary. And there, if you were to read also The Coming New Man, and we explain the double cordons that circulate around the spinal column, and we see that as the caduceus, as that marvelous symbol which has been taken over by medicine. Okay, and that caduceus is the energy that needs to be lifted up through a changing state of consciousness, through purification, up into the heart sanctuary. And it is in that heart sanctuary that the alchemical process can continue. Okay, is that okay from the question that you have asked? And no, you also said, how should this be done? As soon as it becomes a method of willpower, I wish to aspire to the light, to liberation, we're back again in the pelvic sanctuary, because that's where the ego has its residence. And it says, yes, now you have to go. And the higher self says, yes, because as the Luciferic energy, I want to be in control of not only man, but also of mankind. Yeah? And then we're lost again. But luckily, we have our discernment, we have our understanding. So a spiritual school, a Gnostic path through a spiritual school doesn't only offer the explanation and the understanding, what we can call the universal teachings, but also offers a power, an energy, and that energy is able to, through its, well, that's another subject, but through all its activity, enable us by being open to be in that other. And yesterday evening, someone talked about the power field, to be in a Gnostic power field, which has no interest whatsoever in our personality, certainly not in our ego, whether we're nice or unpleasant, whether we're doing this or we're doing that. It is speaking to those who have that pre-remembrance in themselves. And pre-remembrance is the vibration of eternity. It's the vibration of light itself in our being. So it's beyond any type of philosophy, any type of emotion, any type of I-centered being. So eternity is there. Well, if we begin to perceive, conceive, or feel that, then how are we going to focus our life? We're not going to focus our life on self and self-aggrandizement, even if we think it's a spiritual process. We're going to turn our life towards that power field, that beginning of that temple, which is going to be then in our heart sanctuary. No one can force it. No one can say you have to do this, that, or the other. But it is the Gnostic method. It is the method of alchemy, of transformation. And quite rightly,